Welcome to the help video for your M2A2 SLS time tracking chart assignment. A heads up about this assignment is that this assignment requires you to track your time for 5 straight days. So you can't procrastinate on this assignment and wait until the day before the due date to get started. You'll already be behind. You must begin tracking your time at least 5 days before the due date. So please plan carefully. Another note about this assignment is this assignment has your extra credit option for Module 2. The premise behind this assignment is to track your time for 5 straight days. But if you'd like to earn 5 extra credit points on this assignment, then track your time for an additional 2 days, making up 7 straight days. So that choice is up to you. For full credit, you can track your time for 5 straight days and report your findings on the assignment. I'll demonstrate to you in just a moment. But if you'd like to earn 5 extra credit points, carry on that process for an extra 2 days and track your time for an entire week. So make that decision before going forward. And once you're ready, have a look at getting started. There are 2 files that you'll need to download which are associated with this assignment to make sure you complete it successfully. The first one I have demonstrated over here on the right to us. This is called the time log. Whenever you click the time log link here, it will download your planner so that you can begin tracking your time starting right away. So you'll notice that your planner is separated into 5 days on the top. That would be for your full credit activity. As you are going through these days, just add to your planner the items that you are completing throughout your schedule. It helps to print this planner out and keep it on you. So keep it in your pocket, keep it in a purse, keep it in a wallet or a backpack, and every couple of hours take it up, take it out, and upload what it is you've been working on in the meantime. So you have area here for 5 straight days. You'll begin collecting this information right away. If you'd like to go forward with the extra credit option, you have those 2 extra days down here at the bottom as well. So print this out. Keep it on you. Begin tracking how you're spending your time throughout the day. Try to be as specific as possible. So not just studying, but rather preparing for my ENC 1101 exam, or not just watching TV, but watching Netflix or watching Hulu, hanging out with friends, driving to work. So try to be more specific where possible. Don't just put class time. Put sitting in my SLS 1101 class or sitting in my American history class, and fill this out for either 5 or 7 straight days. The information that you collect from this document will be exactly what you're going to use on part 2 of your weekly assignment when you track your time. So read through those directions. That information is going to get placed directly inside of your time tracking activity file. So I'll upload that file now so you can see what that looks like, and then we'll continue. Once you select this link and download it to your computer, it's going to download an Excel spreadsheet for you that already has a template in place. Notice that on your Excel spreadsheet, there are 4 tabs across the bottom of the file. Each of those 4 tabs relates to the different parts of this assignment. So if you're not sure what goes where, be sure to read the directions carefully. But we're going to begin with part 1 of the assignment, where you're going to estimate how you anticipate using your time. There's 2 options to choose from here. If you're selecting the 5-day option, you'll only fill in information for this top square at the top. If you're going to choose the 7 days for the extra credit points, you'll only use this square at the bottom. You do not need to put information in both squares. So for example, if you wanted to use the 7-day extra credit option, you're going to start off with 168 hours. That's how many hours are in a 7-day span. And start populating in how many hours total you anticipate spending on all these items. So maybe you have 10 hours of class time during that week, and reading and homework is maybe an additional 15 hours on top of that. Perhaps you sleep roughly 8 hours per night. So you start populating these in. You have a part-time job, add it in. And as you start populating in these fields, you'll notice that your other hours begin to decrease, because you only have 168 hours to choose from. So anything left over would go into other. If you notice this number here go into the negative, like say for example I say volunteer for 90 hours and it goes into the negative, it means you spent too much time. You don't have all that time, so have a look at your numbers and see what's going on. But that's part 1 for the estimate. Let's change volunteer down to 9 now and have a look at what comes next. But for this part of the assignment, make sure you have all of these numbers filled in with as close as an estimate as you can get on how you're going to spend your time throughout these 7 days or 5 days if you're going for the full credit. Once you've completed that, click down to part 2 on the track section here at the bottom. We'll click it, and this is the template that goes hand in hand with that first file you saw on the video where you're tracking your time. So bring up your template that you should have filled out by this point. Put in the days of the week and the dates of the week for each of either the 5 or 7 days that you tracked, and simply begin to put in your information from that other file directly into these fields based on the time. So again, be specific. These should all be filled out entirely. So work hours, driving to work, getting ready for work, put all that in your time log here so you can keep an accurate track of that. This part is the time tracking section that goes with your template from the beginning of this video. That's part 2 of the assignment. Part 3 of the assignment is very similar to part 2. You're going to take all the information from part 2, only you're going to categorize it into some sections up here at the top. So for part 2, it's not 5 new days or 7 new days. It's you taking the information you already have from part 2 and categorizing it into either time in class, time spent reading, researching, or studying, sleeping, working, volunteering, or going to church, hobby or sport, TVs, computers, activities, movies, Netflix, etc. for T. G is going to represent video games. P is going to represent personal hygiene, like getting ready in the morning, getting ready before bed. F is going to represent time with friends and family. E is going to represent eating. D for driving. O is going to be that other field. And then X is going to be household responsibilities, chores, etc. So from your data from part 2, start putting those into categories. So in the middle of the night, maybe you're sleeping. So you start typing in all of the S's here to represent sleeping. And as you do, you can see that your circle graph on the right-hand side there starts to populate. So after you're finished sleeping, maybe you are getting ready to go to school, for example. So let's see what hygiene represents on the fields above. Hygiene, personal hygiene is going to be P. So when you're getting ready, you start typing in the P for personal hygiene. Then maybe you drive to school or work. So you're driving for maybe a half hour. And so it's going to populate these fields in as you go. So it's not new information, it's just you putting the information from part 2 into specific categories. And then maybe you get to class at that point, so we start putting in some C's for class time. And you can see how the graph changes accordingly. It's about time for lunch now. We'll put in a couple of E's for lunch. And you get an idea of what that graph's going to do. All of that information is populated in this table above here. It will keep track of your hours for you. It represents it here on your circle graph. And then additionally, down below, it's going to compare your actual data here. It will compare that to what you estimated on tab 1. It pulls in that data automatically. It will compare the estimate, and then it will give you the difference from how close your estimate was to your actual time log. So make sure you populate every table in this field, whether you're doing 5 days or 7 days, it will work accordingly based off what you put in. And then once you have that totally populated, move on down to part 4, which is the link. Okay, so moving on to the final part of the assignment, part 4, the link. And the link represents the link between your values that we established in the first part of this module, now to your time management, what you're actually spending your time on. For more information about this activity, have a look at the personal values assessment, which is linked to from your assignment. Whenever you click that link and take the personal values assessment, it gives you a list of values to choose from, and the instructions are to pick your top 10 values. So whether you take the assessment on your own or whether you want to move right to part 4 of the assignment, you're going to look through the values that are presented in front of you, and you're going to highlight your top 10 in green. So hold down either Command or Control on your keyboard and start picking your top 10 values. So let's just say creativity and forgiveness maybe, and power or recognition or integrity. Once you have your 10 values, you're going to highlight those 10 values a light green color. So come up, Find the lightest green you can, highlight those cells green, and then move on to the next part. So you'll have 10 values to pick from. I just gave you a sample here. Now, the next part of this assignment is to imagine that someone who didn't know you was looking at how you spent your time on parts 2 and 3 of this assignment. So they don't know what your values are. These people don't know you. Imagine a stranger picked up just simply how you spent your time for either 5 days or 7 days. What would that stranger say is your top 10 values based off of the time you spent on your time log alone? So would a stranger say that maybe you spend a lot of time at work, and that has to do maybe with wealth? Or maybe you did a lot of time with family that week, so maybe select family also from a stranger standpoint. Perhaps you were going above and beyond by doing extracurricular activities for achievement. Maybe you were working, but you were still going to school and providing for a family, so you had balance involved there as well. So what would a stranger say is most important to you based off time spent alone? Some may be in agreement with what you said, but probably not all will be. Once you highlight the 10 values that a stranger would identify as your top 10 values, you're going to highlight each of those a light red color. So highlight what a stranger would say based off of the time spent alone. And then the last section we're going to do is any overlapping values. So values that were in agreement, what you identified as your own personal values and what a stranger would also agree with. For any other values that overlap, like you had an agreement, you're going to highlight those yellow. So maybe, for example, you got a lot of sleep and were spending time at the gym, and a stranger saw that as well in your time log. That may be an example of health. So identify that and highlight it a light yellow color. And that's how you're going to wrap up this assignment. You'll have 10 highlights for each section. So 10 that you agree with, 10 that a stranger would say were your top values based off your time spent, and then any that are the same, you'll just highlight yellow. So have a look at that, fill in that information, make sure you have the parts filled out for the entire assignment, parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once you've finished, you will save your work as your last name, first name, M2A2.xlsx, and that's the file that you'll upload for grading. Be sure to check out the rubric before you submit to be sure that you're earning full points on your assignment. And when you're ready, click the assignment title, upload your work, and submit your assignment for M2A2 SLS time tracking chart assignment. I hope the video helps, and good luck on your second assignment of Module 2.